Welcome to Talking Art Episode 10. Today we are going to continue the dialogue we've been having with you about the value in acquiring great works by middle-tier artists. Our current exhibition is Holty, Dugmore, and Roth, 3 artists to know. So let's start with why we titled it this. We're currently in what I feel is a very strange market. There's been a lot of speculation, manipulation, and trend buying. A lot of people are looking to buy in categories, such as acquiring women artists or African American artists. And that's great to do. However, when it's done in a market that's a peak market, and I believe we're currently in one of those, a lot of people are scrambling just to get a name or to be in that category. And they're paying very inflated prices for lesser works. And when the trend shifts, or we have an economic recession, those works will really fall out. However, astute buyers have always known the following, that if you acquire artists who are firmly rooted in art history movements, who've been acquired by museums, have exciting exhibition history, and most importantly, you can get their great canvases, whether they be large or small, you're going to be on very solid ground. We're going to take a look today at Holty, Dugmore, and Roth, and why we feel they fit this category. This Jack Roth is titled Rope Dancer, and it was done in 1980, a very mature point in his career. A lot of artists during the color field era experimented with stain painting, and that's what he's doing here. He's staining the canvas with color, working on unprimed canvas. He actually allows you to see a lot of his drawing, and then what's very particular to him is he allows the unprimed canvas to actually be part of the line as well in the work. Nobody else quite had this technique. I've been in the business a long time, and you would think that it would be easy when a client asks for a big, colorful work that's really successful, that it's easy to find one, and it isn't. We're here with a very impressive work by Carl Holty titled Joust. It's painted in 1945. As we began to research this painting, we looked at what some of his colleagues had done, such as George L.K. Morris, and we realized that this is a very small, rare movement in American art. And potentially, we couldn't really find anything to rival this canvas. So this is an important work which perhaps could sit in a museum collection or be a great acquisition for an American collector. The title of Joust refers to a horse and rider with a lance, which we see in the upper right there, perhaps another figure, maybe even another horse down here. In painting, there's a very formal technique of using diagonals to create strength in a canvas. It's a very formal idea, and he utilizes it here and has this stroke of genius at the bottom, putting in the orange, which perhaps represents ground. Without that bit of orange and then peeking through in other places, this canvas wouldn't be as effective. We believe that this may possibly be maybe one of the best and finest large-scale examples of a cubist painting done in American art. In the post-war era, we saw the rise of action painting, and perhaps we most identify that movement with Jackson Pollock, Franz Kline. However, Edward Dugmore studied under Clifford Still, and I believe that he really adopted a lot of his techniques in his work going forward. What we see going on here is he's using a palette knife, and I always like to say that you can follow an action painter around in how he painted it, which often was in one go. So this incredible dynamic up and down movement, but then as in any great Abex work, you know, they'll switch directions. This appears to be a black and white painting at first glance. It's not. It's got a lot of color. Yellows, oranges, blues, and then a red that literally you can follow around the canvas with your eye. So amazing to think that done in 1953, it's now 2023, a work like this has been sitting in an estate and is just surfacing now. really speaks to what an exciting discovery it is. A really marvelous detail about this work is this seam that runs across the canvas. Dugmore had to stitch together this canvas to make it this size. And I love this because it really speaks to the time period. It's a very gritty time in American art where the artists didn't have much money and they would do something like stitch together the canvas. In our market note for today, we like to point out that there is a huge gap between the top-tier middle artists and the top-tier artists in the market. A good example would be to compare Clyfford Still with Edward Dugmore. Recently, a Clyfford Still achieved over $8 million at auction. The date of this picture was 1955. Our Edward Dugmore is 1953. And if you compare the price of $150,000 to that, you can see that it is a large disparity. Another interesting gap is the one in the color field arena, with a Mark Rothko achieving over $86 million, and yet a color field work by Carl Holty being in the $60,000 range.